What's up guys, Halo Repository back today with another video, and in fact today's video is more of a quick apology video. So for those who are seeing this later down the road, today was the release of Halo Waypoint Chronicles Volume 1. I had released a spoiler-free version and a spoiler discussion video on this book and its 10 short stories that were exclusive to this book's release. And unfortunately, somehow, some way, I had missed one of those stories. And now, in fact, I do know after reviewing how I missed it. And instead of telling you how I missed it, I'm not going to, just because I feel like the way I want to explain it sounds like I'm blaming other people. And that's not what I want to do, because it's no one's fault other than my own for being just a little too brash when I was making these videos and studying everything. I just brain fart. So first and foremost, to those who watch those videos, say so sorry that I missed one. Fortunately enough, it is a smaller one, so this will be a very quick video with a brief discussion on a theory that was actually raised by another amazing Halo YouTuber who I will name once I get to that point. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, so the story that I missed is known as the Eridanus 12, and this takes place in 2495. It essentially starts off with this person that is going under the name or code name Fly on the Wall, and they start talking about the Eridanus 12, or compiling a report of this gang, basically. Now, the Eridanus 12 have been known to pull off really major heists, and this is kind of getting to the point where this group, it's never really clearly said if it's Oni or not. I would assume so, just because this sounds like something Oni would do, are compiling this entire review on a Waypoint article that's being released on the Eridanus 12's latest heist. Now, in this little quick brief brief to another agent, Fly on the Wall pretty much says hey, I recommend putting more resources into Operation Charlemagne due to the increase in violence due to the insurrection. So we learn right here that Colonel Watts has pretty much moved the secession or the insurrectionist movement into the Eridanus system, has basically taken control of the planet Eridanus 12, which, if you don't know, is the Master Chief's birth planet. And so there's a fear that violence is going to be increasing during this time. Now, this is just a little cool because as he's talking about Operation Charlemagne, he does say it's going to take a little bit of time to get that operation prepared, but it gives enough time for their Orion operatives to get as prepared as possible for this upcoming mission, which is cool because it's kind of our first little look at, well, not first look, but it's a fun little look at Operation or Orion operatives, who happen to be people like Sergeant Johnson, who was part of the Orion 1 project. So then it goes into talking about how the agent basically says, or at least Fly on the Wall says, that while the Eridanus 12 are kind of a small fish in a large pond, they're more concerned about the insurrectionist movement and Colonel Watts, but that doesn't mean that piracy, which has been kind of a really major issue in, the galaxy, is being brushed to the side. In fact, it's their second biggest concern. And so there's a bit of a fear here that by allowing the Eridanus 12 to continue with what they've been doing, especially since that they've done it to the point where they don't ever leave a trail, making it a little harder for them to be found by whoever's investigating all this, it's come to this the conclusion that they need to be dealt with. And so right here, Fly on the Wall is telling whoever he's talking to, whoever this whole entire message is to, basically saying he wants anything regarding the Eridanus 12 to be buried. He wants a name stricken from the record. He wants ships to be deregistered. He just basically wants them to act as if they never exist, which is why I believe this is definitely Oni, because that just sounds like very much Oni operative type things to do. And then he ends his little report by saying that if these people are found, he wants them stranded on the farthest uncharted world that they could possibly find. And this will lead me into the theory that was placed by Kamishep. If you have not followed him on anything yet, definitely give him a follow. I follow him a lot on Instagram because he just gives off really great content, all very much lore based. He answers a lot of really deep or not even super deep lore questions for community members that just don't want to read the books or just don't have the time. He's that guy to go to. He will release a whole video just talking about it, connecting the dots for you. Definitely give him a follow. But real quick, so Kamishep talks about how this piracy known as the Eridanus 12 could be in fact related to the cast-offs in Halo Oblivion. For those who don't remember, we talked about this when we talked about this book, The cast-offs were essentially like these people who were living or were born on this planet known as Netherop. And Netherop was like a barren planet. Like there was clearly some sort of evidence of life here 100,000 years ago, but the fact that there's humans living on it right now makes zero sense, especially given that this planet has been known to be devoid of life. And so in this book, you know, Blue Team finds these kids who are part of the cast-offs, and they basically say like they've lived here their whole life, and so have some of their parents, and that's where we meet other characters like Roselle, who's like around the same age as John and the Spartans, around 20, 25 years old, who's also been living her whole life. So what Cami Shep is trying to say is that it's very possible that the Eridanus 12 has some sort of relation to the original, you know, people who were brought here, who were stranded on this planet. Because think about it, Fly on the Wall says, I want them stranded on the farthest, you know, uncharted world you can find. We find out that the cast-offs ancestors were in fact pirates and were in fact stranded on this planet. My only small thing with this, and it's very small, and I'm not trying to sit here and say Cami Shep is wrong. I would never question that man's logic. The only reason I'm a little hesitant to fully go ahead and say, yeah, that's definitely got to be it, is this story takes place in 2495, just about 5 years before the 26th century. The way that Oblivion kind of words it is that the cast-offs have been here for many generations. Now, again, there's no definitive like answer in Oblivion. It doesn't for sure say it has been multiple generations. It just says, you know, it's very likely they've been here for quite some time. But if we were going to look at specifically when, you know, Eridanus 12 and Oblivion takes place, it's only been roughly 30-ish years, 2495 to 25, 26. So yeah, roughly 30, 31 years. Roselle herself is only 25. That would mean probably her parents were part of that original, you know, group of pirates that were abandoned on this planet. So for me, that right here kind of doesn't sound as right, because it just feels at that point, maybe it's not as long as we think. Again, this is all hypothetical. This is Cami Shep's own theory. I'm not trying to disqualify it. I'm just trying to place it on the timeline of events that we know from the Eridanus 12 to Halo Oblivion. I personally think that it's a phenomenal theory and it would connect the dots really well. So yes, once again, definitely check out Cami Shep's video. He does actually have a quick, short, little, like, I think it's like a minute-long video talking about Eridanus 12, so you can go get his perspective as well. I always implore you to check out other Halo YouTube channels that talk about books and stories, because I think all of us, you know, find different things that none of us capture, and we can all finally just create a bigger picture together. So back to the Eridanus 12. That was my long spiel, just giving credit to Cami Shep. Back here, we start to see the article from Waypoint that is being written. This article isn't out yet. In fact, it's an early version that's getting ready to be released by whoever's writing it. And in it, we learned that, in fact, the Eridanus 12 have gone around and they have pulled off major heists on UNSC ships, taking military equipment. But more recently, they found a cargo ship that had really original, like, old works of art. And it gives off the names of some of these, but the biggest one that I want to capture your attention on is a painting known as Saturn Devours His Sun. And that's phenomenal because it gets brought up again in one of the short stories known as Saturn Devours His Sun. You see the painting, you see who owns it, how they talk about it, and how like, oh yes, this was stolen, I had come by it, blah, 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 blah. It's just one of those things that, again, I love about Waypoint Chronicles, that it just connects the dots through multiple stories, and in fact through stories that are outside this book. It's really good. And so yeah, that's pretty much what the article is about. It's basically like your typical news article talking about the Eridanus 12, talking about what they're doing, and talking about how, as of right now, there's no real telling what the next strike for the Eridanus 12 will be. And that's the other part about this, is this is 2495. Right here we have it to where there's not really much evidence of them being discovered. And in fact, even the fly on the wall at the beginning of it basically says that, like, if you find these people, which means it's not confirmed, they're not found, we don't have them for sure. I have to look more into Operation Charlemagne, see if that's a pre-established thing and if it's taken place already. And if it does, you know, can we again connect that timeline between Eridanus 12 and Oblivion's cast-offs. So once the article ends, we then kind of transition over to an email from the managerial editor of Waypoint talking to the writer of this article saying, hey, you know, phenomenal story, great work. However, I'm gonna need you to hold off just for a little bit longer. And you're probably wondering, okay, well, what was his reasoning? And his reasoning right here says, I'm afraid we've got orders from above to hold it for now. I think they want more info that we just don't have. I'm sure you understand. And that's it. That is the end of Eridanus 12. It's an interesting story. The weirdest part about this was listening to the audio version because it is, read by Jeff Stizer, the amazing, like the multiplayer voice, the voice of God in multiplayer reads this. But it's also kind of hard at the same time because his voice is so iconic that hearing him actually just read a book is a little like weird. It's good, but it's just weird. But overall, I think it's a cool story. I'm really interested to see that if these are the cast-offs that we get to meet in Oblivion, or at least the ancestors of those cast-offs. And again, I really like the connecting of dots from this to Saturn Devours His Son, the actual story in this book. So, like I said, super short video, super quick. I made myself do a whole video because one, I really messed up by missing this. I wanted to show you guys that I'm really sorry about missing it because I want to make sure I try to clear as much or talk about as much as I can in these videos, especially if I'm supposed to be giving you an honest review of an amazing book. But let me know what you think. Go definitely check out Cami Sheps. I'll leave like a link down for all of his socials for you to follow. But let me know what you think on that theory. Let me know if you think like that's legit. And I think again, it's really good. I'm on the side that yeah, he's probably right about it. But I'm also curious about that timeline that we're kind of getting between these two books. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.